Greenberg. My sister had her first daughter.
Who?
My sister had her first daughter.
Told me, I think,
Oh,
huh?
I did? I've
Yeah.
just been telling you. I'm so excited.
Could be. When a girl is born first, it's a good sign. You know why? Anyone know why?
It's their third child, first daughter.
Oh, okay.
But I do want to know why.
Bas Tchila Simin Yafel U'Banim. A girl is the firstborn in the family, it's a good sign for the rest of the kids.
But why?
Why? And the mother says because an older sister is very, very motherly. She takes care of her younger siblings. But one of the reasons why she would take care, especially for her younger brothers, even more than younger sisters, because when he goes out for shidduchim, they often say to find out the nature of the kala, let's find out who her mother's brother is.
Why?
Usually, mother's brothers are connected to them. I'm sorry, not the kala, the nature of the chassan, rather. The nature of the chassan, my mistake. The nature of the chassan is connected to the chassan's mother's brother. So therefore, she has an interest, she has a bias. Her interest in taking care of her younger brothers is figure it out. What's the interest?
Ensuring that they, like, both her and them.
She would get a good shidduch.
And good shidduch.
Get a good shidduch, yeah. Okay, I want to discuss a little bit about today. Today's of course a fast day, and a very unusual fast day. Why is it a very unusual fast day? What?
We break the fast on Kiddush.
First of all, we fast on Friday, even without the Kiddush break. In fact, we fast on Friday is the only fast day to fall on Friday. No other fast days. Tisha B'Av cannot fall on Friday. Shabbos Thomas can't fall on Friday. Neither can the fast day of Tel Gedalia. I want to mention a little bit about each of the 4 fast days. Cannot fall on Friday. And fasting on Friday is not so simple. Halachically, you're not allowed to fast on Friday because you're not allowed to enter into the Shabbos feeling starved. So that's a chiddush itself, but there's even a bigger chiddush. Someone by the name of Rabbi David Avudraham, who lived a couple generations before the Beis Yosef, back to the 14th century. Beis Yosef quotes him very often. And this Rabbi David Avudraham says something quite novel. He says that it's a hypothesis, it's theoretical. If Asar B'Teves would fall out on Shabbos, you have to fast even on Shabbos. And everyone wonders, where did you get that from? And why in the world would that be? It's very strange. Why is that strange to say that you would fast on Shabbos? Well, first of all, it's not possible. It cannot happen. The calendar does not allow it to happen. But if it were to happen, you would to fast on Shabbos according to Rabbi David Avudraham. And the question is asked, even Tisha B'Av, which is a lot stricter than Asar B'Teves, when the actual destruction of the Beis Hamikdash took place, we fast even at night, fast the whole 24 hours. We don't wear shoes. We don't wash our hands, besides not eating and drinking. And yet Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbos, we push it off to Sunday. And Asara B'Teves, which we don't fast 24 hours. Number two, you don't have a problem of wearing shoes on Asara B'Teves. Number three, the laws of breaking a fast are a lot easier. If a person is not well, has migraine headaches, you might have a heter to eat on today, but you don't have a heter to eat on Tisha B'Av so fast. To find a heter to eat on Tisha B'Av is harder, and yet we say that this day pushes off Shabbos. How? And what's the source? So if you take a look at the, here, pass it down. Before we get, I don't know if we got a chance to learn the Gemara today, but before we get to the Gemara, there's normally I do the Gemara we're learning right now, which is above Mitzvah, but today's a fast day, so we're doing something else. So here you see, here's a pasuk in Yecheskel, Ezekiel, chapter 24, Chav Dawid, pasuk Beis, on Nevuah. Hashem tells Yecheskel, Hanavi, right before the Churbans, right before the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash. What does it say? Vayhi Dvar Hashem Elai. Look in the English. The word of Hashem came to me in the ninth year of his reign. This is the reign of Tzidkiyahu. B'chodesh ha'asiri ba'esel ha'chodesh, in the 10th month of the 10th day of the 10th month, the following prophecy was given to him. He received this prophecy, and it said the following in this pasuk Beis: Ben Adam, son of man, is he called. Ksav lecha es shem hayom. Write down for yourself the name of the day. Name of the day meaning no names in Hebrew. So days have just number one, day 2, first day of the week, second day of the week. Write down the name of the day of the week and the day of the month. And he says over here, the words Ksav lecha es shem hayom, and here are the key words, the most important words. Es etzem hayom hazeh, on the very essence of this day. What's going to happen on this day? So on the very day itself, on Asara B'Teves, that year, Hashem tells Yecheskel Hanavi, I want you to write down that on this very day, on the very essence of this day, Stamach Melech Bavel and Yerushalayim. I want to let you know that King Bavel, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Bavel, has already besieged the city of Yerushalayim. Again, he says, Be'etzem hayom hazeh, on this very day. So on the day itself, on the very day of Asara B'Teves, Hashem tells Yecheskel, right now, you know what's happening? Melech Bavel, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Bavel, is laying siege, he's besieging the land of the around the city of Yerushalayim, around the wall of Yerushalayim. Laying siege. And when the Jews will find out that this is true, they will believe that he's a real Navi, because there were a lot of false prophecies that were said then. Nothing to worry about, everything's fine, won't be any Churban. So to prove that they're wrong and he's right, Hashem is telling you, I want you to write it down and let people know that you're saying prophecy that on this very day, Melech Bavel has already laid siege around the walls of Yerushalayim. Now look at the words here. Look at the words. Be'etzem hayom hazeh. Be'etzem hayom hazeh is a very strange word. And it's mentioned twice. On the essence of this day. What's the idea of mentioning the essence of this day? What's the essence of the day? Why the significance of mentioning those two words? Twice. Be'etzem hayom hazeh is mentioned twice in the pasuk. On the very day itself. To indicate, says the Abu Durham, that you would fast even on Shabbos. This day cannot go by. You can't push it off. This day, this is the day and one only day you can fast to commemorate this terrible tragedy of the king of Bavel besieging Yerushalayim. And he says it's just like a Yom Kippur. The only fast day that we know that does push off Shabbos is Yom Kippur, right? What does it say in the Chumash on Yom Kippur? On the essence of this day, you are to fast. To afflict yourself. So since the exact same wording is mentioned on Asara B'Teves, concerning the fast of Asara B'Teves, the same exact language that was used for Yom Kippur, just like Yom Kippur pushes off Shabbos, so too, if Asara B'Teves was to fall on Shabbos, it would also push off Shabbos.
I think the audio's not going.
Yes, it is.
No, people are messaging me.
So, what the Abu Durham says is that the reason why we fast on Shabbos is because there is a juxtaposition. There's we equate Asara B'Teves with Yom Kippur. Why? Because the exact same language is used. And Yom Kippur says, "Be'etzem hayom hazeh," on the essence of this day, you are to fast, no pushing off, and likewise on Teves. But that's very strange. I understand that we have a verse, a pasuk, but why in the world would Asar B'Teves have this stringency of fasting even on Shabbos? Friday, in fact, to fast on Friday is already novel enough. Fast on Shabbos, what's the reason for it? If you look, you will see something strange about the pasuk. The word siege usually is not the words that the pasuk uses. It says, "Be'etzem hayom hazeh samach melech Bavel el Yerushalayim." Samach. You see the word samach in the Hebrew? In the pasuk Beis, the middle of the second line, pasuk Beis, after it says "Etzem hayom hazeh," write this very day down. What has happened? Samach melech Bavel el Yerushalayim. Melech Bavel has laid siege, but the word siege in Hebrew doesn't fit with the word samach. Samach means he supported. Melech Bavel supported us. He supported us by laying siege around the city of Yerushalayim. He gave us support. He helped us. But the Rebbe says, the Rebbe, where he says, indeed he did. That was not his intent, but he actually was helping us. Why? Because we were, how long would the siege last? At what time, when was the actual breaking in the wall? They laid siege for a long time. It didn't happen just for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. It was a year and a half. For a whole year and a half, we were locked inside a very holy city called Yerushalayim. And Yerushalayim is a city where the Beis Hamikdash exists. It's a city where one is imbued with Yirah Shamayim. Yerushalayim means Yirah Shalem, complete wholesome fear of God. Imagine if you're locked in a holy place for a year and a half, and everything was going normal. They had the Beis Hamikdash was functioning. Everything was. The only problem was that we have the non-Jews are showing signs that they're about to take over. Tshuva. It's a perfect time for tshuva. Hashem is saying, "No, I'm holding it back. I'm holding back. Taking a long time. You have plenty of time to rethink your ways, and realize that if you do tshuva, it won't happen. There wouldn't be any churban Beis Hamikdash." And we didn't catch the hint. We didn't follow. So that's what makes this fast so strict. It was the beginning of all the subsequent tragedies. It started with this, and we had a chance to undo the whole thing. And we didn't follow. We didn't catch the hint. All beginnings are very, very strict. When you have a sign from heaven that things are going to go downward if you don't focus on Hashgacha Pratis, on what Hashem is telling you, if you don't focus on it, it's going to get worse. But I'm giving you a chance. You had a whole year and a half to think about it. And they did. So what makes it so severe is that it's the beginning of all the subsequent. It really almost includes all the subsequent sufferings, including the destruction of Beis Hamikdash. If not for us failing, if not for this failure, we would not have had a destruction. So he was actually helping us by laying siege. He was helping us because we were stuck in Yerushalayim. Imagine being stuck in the Beis Hamikdash. Pretty nice place to be stuck if you have to be stuck somewhere. The holy environment. It's conducive to doing tshuva. He was helping us, not intentionally. And that's the reason why we have to fast even on Shabbos, if it would fall on Shabbos. This day cannot be pushed off. It's interesting that the day also has something very holy about it. Because the more strict the fast is, the more holiness it contains. Every fast day is an auspicious time for davening to Hashem for the Geula. Especially a fast like this, which we say is the beginning of all the other fast days. In fact, this by the way, Asar B'Teves only applied, this only took place by the first Beis Hamikdash. Tisha B'Av was the churban of both. Shivasar B'Tammuz, when they broke the wall, that applied to the second, and some say the first was actually the first Beis Hamikdash. The walls of Yerushalayim were broken into on the 9th of Tammuz. In fact, there are some that even fast on the 9th of Tammuz. There's a dispute between the Babylonian, Bavli, and Shalmi, whether that is actually true or not. But it does say in Tanakh that the first Beis Hamikdash was the walls of the city were broken into on the 9th of Tammuz, not the 17th. Tom Gedalia, the fast of Tom Gedalia took place after the destruction of the first temple, the first Beis Hamikdash, not the second. Asara B'Teves was the first of the first start of tragedies, but it did not happen during the second Beis Hamikdash. It happened during the first Beis Hamikdash. It happened before the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash. It wasn't repeated by the second. What's special about the 10th day of the 10th month? 10:10. I don't mean a radio station, 10:10. 10:10, we know that 10 is holy because there's a pasuk in Chumash that says every 10th is holy. It's why you need 10 men to make a minyan. To say holy words like Kedusha, to read the Torah, to say Kaddish, you need a minyan. So a minyan allows Kedusha to dwell into a certain room. But tithing, when you tithe your animals, the 10th animal is holy. The pasuk in Chumash, partially difficult side. Behold, Asidi Hiya Kodesh. How about if it's the 10th day of the 10th month? It's double holy. It's 10th of the 10th day, which is decided by the sun. Day and night is decided by sun. And the day of the month, the 10th month, is decided by the moon. So both moon-wise and sun-wise, it's 10. 10th day of the 10th month, it's Kodesh Kadoshim. This day has within it the ingredients of Kodesh Kadoshim. If we take advantage of this incredible day by doing tshuva, by contemplating and meditating on what happened on this day, and remedy the avelus, getting rid of the avelus of this day, if you uncover what's hidden, is very powerful energy, the energy of Kodesh Kadoshim. I want to just mention something quite interesting. I just heard it recently. There are four sad days in our calendar. Asara B'Teves, that's the siege, when it surrounded the walls for a year and a half. When they broke in, Teves Rabbi Tammuz, we fast. Tisha B'Av, when the actual Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. What's the fourth one? Tzom Gedalia. Who was Gedalia? A few months after the destruction of Beis Hamikdash, there was a terrible tragedy, but until then, we still felt there was some hope. Why? Because although Nebuchadnezzar exiled most of the Jews, there were several Jews that were allowed to remain in Eretz Yisrael for tax purposes, and he even hired ordered a leader for them, a great leader who was Gedalia, the big tzaddik. Gedalia, the son of Achikam, gave them hope. There was some vestige of hope that maybe we can resettle in Eretz Yisrael, and maybe we could start over again. But when he was assassinated on Rosh Hashanah, 3 months, Tisha B'Av was 2 months before Rosh Hashanah, even less. But just a short while later, after the Korban, where hope was still there was a tiny feeling of hope, maybe. He was assassinated by another Jew, by the way. Terrible story. He was told, be careful, this Jew wants to kill you. He didn't believe him. I'm not going to mention the name of the person. And that person, he was naive not to realize that this person had bad intentions and actually assassinated him. The whole story in Tanakh and Yirmiyah, that won't go into right now. But that's the story of the Gedalia. There are 4 sins corresponding to these 4 tragedies. Let's start with the least known. What sin actually caused the tragedy of Asara B'Teves? So I looked it up and I found out what day was Yosef sold by his brothers. Asara B'Teves. 10 brothers selling Yosef on the 10th day of the 10th month. So to rectify the sin of the sale of Yosef, which also caused later on 10 martyrs, wasn't so easy. Simple. This thing had left a trace. And the day that we suffer and have to fast until Mashiach comes is a result of the sin of Mechiras Yosef. 10th day, 10 brothers. Okay, next, Teves Tammuz. 17th of Tammuz came as a result of the Chet HaEgel. Because what happened after the Chet HaEgel? Moshe Rabbeinu broke the Luchos. What day? 17th of Tammuz. Besides the fast of the breaking through the walls, breaking down the walls of Yerushalayim, many years earlier, in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, he broke the luchos because he saw the Jews worshiping an idol. So the chet ha'egel, the sin of the golden calf, is the source of the tragedy of the Rosh Hashanah. Tisha B'Av came as which resulted which chet? Which sin is what resulted in Tisha B'Av? Back in Chumash. In the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, there was a sin, not the egel. Chet ha'meraglim. When the Meraglim spies came back with a bad report, everyone started crying for no reason. So Hashem says, now you're crying for no reason on this day, was Tisha B'Av, when they came back. I will make this day a day of mourning for a good reason. So it's the spy, the Avera, the sin with the spies who did not want to go into Eretz Yisrael, where there would be a holy Beis Hamikdash there. They refused to enter Eretz Yisrael. They suffered the loss of the Beis Hamikdash. From Gedaliah, which Avera was the cause for Gedaliah's death. When did it happen? When was he killed? On Rosh Hashanah. He fasted the day after Rosh Hashanah, but he can't fast on Rosh Hashanah. He was actually killed, according to many, on Rosh Hashanah itself. Who was created on Rosh Hashanah? Adam. What sin? Eitz Hadas. So the Chet Eitz Hadas, which took place on Rosh Hashanah, the exact day that Gedaliah was killed, is connected. There's a connection between that Chet and the assassination of Gedaliah ben Ahikam. So there are 4 sins that correlate to these 4 days of fasting. As I said before, to a certain degree, Asara B'Teves beats even Tisha B'Av. Yes, we start in the morning. We don't take off our shoes. We can wear shoes. We can wash our hands. But the day that we do fast, and we can get a heter faster, but it cannot be postponed. It's a fast day that you can never postpone, according to the Avodah Ham. If it fall on Shabbos, we fast on Shabbos. Now, I have to tell you, halachically, we don't follow the Avodah Ham. So if, hypothetically, it was fallen on Shabbos, we would still not fast on Shabbos. But the fact that there is an opinion, the Avodah Ham is no, whippersnapper. He's a very great rabbi who lived before the Beis Yosef, who lived 700 years ago. Just 150 years after the Rambam. He says this, although there's a lot of those that argue with him, but the fact that he says that means that there's something very unique about this day. Okay. Now, as far as I mentioned the other day, that there are actually 3 days in a row that were considered fast days by many tzaddikim. They fast 3 days in a row. Ches Teves, which was Wednesday, Thursday yesterday, Ches Teves, and today. What happened? Ches Teves. What happened yesterday in history? I mentioned this in the other class on Tuesday. 2 great tzaddikim passed away. Ezra HaSofer. He was the one that started the whole sending the Jews after the destruction, after the 70 years were up, 70 years Babylonian exile was up. He came with all the Jews and ascended back to Eretz Yisrael. He was a sofer, he was a tzaddik, they say the least. He was so great that the Gemara tells us, had he been living in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, or had Moshe not received the Torah, Ezra HaSofer would be worthy of being in Moshe's place, of receiving the Torah from Hashem and Har Sinai. That's how great he was. And then Nehemiah, another great prophet, also passed away on the same day. Day before, Wednesday, was Ches Teves. You're also leaving?
No, I'll be right back. I can't rain here.
Okay. What happened to Ches Teves? We mentioned the other day, Ches Teves was the day where King Ptolemy, who was actually an Egyptian king, but he was under the auspices of the Greeks, so he spoke Greek, and he wanted the rabbis, 70 rabbis, actually 72 rabbis, called the Septuagint. Sept in Latin it's called 7. Say it's it's related to 7. Septuagint is 70, but it's actually 72 rabbis. He wanted that the Torah should be translated into Greek. What he was looking for, he was trying to look for inaccuracies, so he can prove the Torah is not, from God, it's man-made, and therefore the Jews should therefore follow the Greek culture instead of the Jews. He was trying to find faults, and what he did was quite smart. He put 72 rabbis into 72 different rooms, chambers, did not tell them what the purpose is. Only after they were already settled in their respective chambers did he tell them what he wants from them. I want you to translate the Torah into Greek. They knew that's a problem, going to be a problem. They're not going to be able to translate it literally because you're going to find a lot of faults with some of the verses there. So, but they have a problem. They have to translate all the 72. If they're going to translate it by making alterations, they're not going to say this, not going to make the same alterations. How could 72 different people come to the same are going to come to the same conclusion? What has to be fixed? They weren't prepared before. They didn't have a time to converse, to consult with each other about it. So it's impossible. It's a miracle for any two rabbis to agree. 72 rabbis to agree on exactly what kind of alterations and changes to make so that Talmud does not find any fault, does not get misled and think the Torah is not min hashamayim. That's not easy. All 72 made the exact same changes in 13 different places. What was the first change? Bereshis bara Elokim. Doesn't sound too good. Bereshis created God. Now, you might want to ask, wait a second, Bereshis has a meaning. How do you translate Bereshis in English? In the beginning, God created. I don't know how to translate in Greek. But you can translate, in the beginning, God created. Why would that mean beginning created God? So Tosfos asks this question, and he says, no. It makes no sense in the eyes of a non-Jew that if you believe so much that it's God-given, wouldn't God be the first word? But should have said, God created the beginning. Why do we? You know what? It really did say beginning created God, but you didn't like that. So you wrote in the beginning. Because if God was not created, why is his name not mentioned first? It should have said Elokim bara Bereshis. They realized that. And thus they translated as God created the beginning. They didn't translate as in the beginning God created because he'll have questions. Why is God not the first word? So therefore, they made that alteration. I want to show something interesting. Bereshis bara Elokim. The comment starts with a base. Right? How many letters are there in the alphabet? 22. Okay, let's go. If the Torah starts with a base, so let's go by threes. Let's get to the end of the alphabet by going 3 letters at a time. Beis, Gimel, Dalet. Stop. What's the numerical value of Beis plus Gimel plus Dalet? Take that long.
6.
Beis is 2. Gimel is 3. It's 5.
And dollar. I went from Olive.
No, Aleph. We're starting with Beis. Remember, it's 9. 9. Okay. Now, A, Vav, Zayin. Hey is 5. Vav is 6. That's 11. 18 again is 9. 1 plus 8 is 9. All the numbers are 9 related. Continue. Ches, 8. Tes, 9. That's 8 plus 9 is 17. Yud, 10, 27. Again, 9. Trust me, you keep on going, you'll have 9. What is 9 so special? It's emes. How do you spell emes? Aleph. Mem is 40, but 40 and 4 are the same. 4, no. 1 plus 4 plus tough is also 4, 400. 1 plus 4 plus 4 is 9. Emes. Consistency. Truth. Something that doesn't waver, doesn't change, but it continues. Is truth. The word emes also shows that. Aleph, beginning of the alphabet. Mem, the middle. Mem, middle. And tough, the end. All part of one word. I don't change whether I'm the middle, beginning, or the middle, or the end. I'm all part of one flow, one energy. Something that penetrates from the beginning to the end, and there's no wavering, there's no concession, there's nothing changing. That's emes. So therefore, if the Torah starts with Beis, it fits very well. All the 3 letters, the groups of 3 will add up to 9. But if you're Talmai, and you begin with the Torah with Aleph, Elokim, if you start Elokim bara Bereshis, what would that mean? What is 1 plus 2 plus 3? 6, like we said before. Dalet Hey Vav. 4 plus 5 is 9, plus 6 is 15. 1 plus 5 is 6 again. It'll all be 6s. 6 is the gematria of the word sheker, falsehood. Sheker is 300, Shin is 300, which is 3. Shin is 3. Kuf is 100, which is 1. Resh is 2. 3 plus 1 plus 2 is 6. So rather than starting with Aleph, with Elakim, Bara Bereshis, would end up with all your groups of threes adding up to 6, and 6 is the gematria of Sheker. We chart the Torah really started with Bereshis, with Bays. When you start with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you keep on going, you're going to end up having emes. So this is actually the Gemara that I made copies of. I don't know how much we're going to learn because we're all fasting today, and there's not much of a population here. But I will. You have the Gemara? I gave it out. Yeah. So take a look. This is Masechta Megillah. Tractate Megillah, surprisingly, talks about all the alterations, all the 13, some say 14, 15, or different versions of all the adjustments that these 72 rabbis made. Miraculously, they all made the exact same adjustment. So let's go in order. Take a look at the first page. First page is the actual Hebrew, but the second page then. Take a look at where you see the lines, pencil lines. On the right side, 9A2, it says Maise Betalamai Hamelech. In the middle of the first column, where the lines are drawn, you'll see where it says there was a Maisa, actually there was one line before that. It was taught in a Brisa, a story with King Ptolemy. There was an incident with King Ptolemy. And by the way, I forgot to mention that this day was not a very happy day in the calendar when the Greek king forces the Jews to have to make alterations, to have to change the precision of Torah. It's painful. And the Gemara says this day was as painful as the day the golden calf was made. Not worship, but made. The golden calf is made, no one worshipped it yet. But who knows what's going to happen afterwards. Same thing over here. The Septuagint was a very, very sad day. And it led to a lot of tragedies later on in history. In fact, it led to the whole story with Hanukkah. Well, not the miracle of Hanukkah, but to the Antiochus period, where many Jews suffered. Anyone know the exact year, the Septuagint? When did it happen? I'll tell you when it happened. It happened 100 and year 3515. Hanukkah is 3622. So it's 107 years before Hanukkah. 3515. 3515, I think. Might be 05. I think either 3505 or 15. I might put 100. I think 3505 actually. 3505. 3505, which is 117 years before Hanukkah. And it was exactly 100 years, 101 years after the story of Purim. So in between Purim and Hanukkah is when this story happened. It was during the existence of the first Beis Hamikdash, about 100 years plus into the building of the first Beis Hamikdash. Okay. Now, so let's see if we can read it inside. There was an incident with King Ptolemy that he gathered 72 elders of Israel and placed them in 72 houses, chambers. He didn't reveal to them at first for what purpose had he gathered them. Why is he putting them into what's for? What does he have in mind? After having them locked into these chambers, he went into each one. He entered, visited each one of those chambers, and said to them individually, write for me in Greek translation of the Torah of Moshe, your teacher. That's a problem. They knew right away that he's not going to be allowed. If we translate it literally, like it's written, it's going to cause problems. First problem is, in the beginning, God created, the beginning created God. So they alterated it and they translated it as God created the beginning instead of in the beginning created God. In the beginning, God created the beginning. And all of them independently arrived at a common decision about how to translate various words in the Torah. The Kosvolo, and they wrote following alterations, or the following changes. Instead of Bereshis bara Elokim, they wrote Elokim bara Bereshis. God created in the beginning, meaning God created the beginning. They also wrote, that's number one. Just by the way, when the Torah starts with a bays, what does that tell us? When the Torah starts with bays, what's the hidden message there? The hidden message is the Aleph is God. When you learn and use your head, that's step 2. Don't think that step one is logic. Step one is God. The fact that it makes sense, you can understand the Torah, that's because God made it understandable. That's step two. But you have to realize there's a step one, there's a God behind all of it. It's divine logic. Well, if you translate it to the Greeks, what was the first word? Elohim, but Aleph. So the first letter in the Torah is Aleph. That means, like the Greeks understand, logic is the first level. Torah is just a book of logic, nothing higher. There's no divinity to it. We know the Torah begins with a base, and the Aleph is godliness. It's interesting that Talmud Bavli, also in the Talmud, the first page of every Gemara is Daf Beis. There's no Daf Aleph. There's no page 1. Page 2. Which book starts with page 2? All the tractates of the Babylonian Talmud, all of Talmud Bavli, begin with page 2, because page 2 means page 1 is God. Not written on that page. It's divine. When we learn, we understand what we're learning, that's because God made it understandable. That's a step 2. First step is we're learning something holy. Now use your head. Now use your brain. Okay. What's the second alteration they made? A few more minutes. Next alteration. Esa Adam, B'Tselem. The verse actually says, Na'aseh Adam, let us make man. You know what that sounds like? That God is not alone in creation of man. Oh, I guess you believe in monotheism, you believe in polytheism, you believe that there's more than one creator. Because it says, we will create man. So they changed it to Esa, I will create man. They translated not we in Greek, whatever the word we in Greek is, they translated God saying, I will create man, because it wouldn't look good. And also the word Bitzalmeinu, Udmusenu, in our image, in our form, God has no form. So therefore Hashem said, therefore the 72 rabbis said, let's translate it as I will, they said to themselves, they were not together, they said to themselves, let's translate it as, let's take the word Bitmusenu, our image, and say a image. God created man in an image, not our image, because that would refer to God's image. It doesn't sound good. Esa Adam B'Tselem Udmus. I shall make man in image and form. They also wrote, in Chumash it says God finished creation on the seventh day. Oh, Hashem doesn't keep Shabbos. It says, Vayechal Elokim Bayom HaShvi. So Rashi explains, 2 answers, that God created rest also. He created the idea of rest, also creation. But you can't tell that to the guy. You won't understand that. Yeah, sure. He worked on Shabbos, so I can also work on. So you guys should also work on Saturday. Your own God worked on Saturday. So why not you? He finished on Saturday. He finished the creation on Shabbos. He was still working. Rashi gives another answer. That it looked like it was on Shabbos, because God gets the millimeter second. So it felt like it was already Shabbos, but it was 1 split second before. Can't tell that to him. Yeah, sure. It means he finished on Shabbos. So what they do, they altered it. They said, God finished the creation on the 6th day. These are all true things. There's no lie over here. He did finish the creation on the 6th day. But instead of saying what the pasuk says, which would make him have thoughts of we shouldn't keep Shabbos, they wrote that God created the world and finished the creation on the 6th day. And he rested on the 7th day. It doesn't say that. The Chumash actually says that he finished creating it on the 7th day. Okay. He completed it on the 6th and he rested on the 7th. Below Kostro, one other one. Zachar Unekeva Bra'o. This is an interesting one. God created man and woman, and he created man. It says Zachar Unekeva Bra'om. He created them, male and female. What does that sound like? That they make a mistake and think. It says in Chumash, Zachar Unekeva Bra'om. Male and female, he created them. Now, the them almost sounds like that there were 2 people. Each one was composed of male and female, like four people. Man and woman. And 2 men were created. Each one of them had a woman connected to them. And that doesn't sound right. Because there are other psukim which seem to indicate that it was only Adam and Chava. Or, oh, really, there were 4 people? What are their names? Adam, Chava. How come you hid the names? Oh, you hid this information. You know what? You guys probably hid also other information. And therefore, you can't trust your Torah. So they had to be very careful, and they wrote Zachar when they came up, male and female, he created him. Only one person, one man, and that man was made up of a woman who was part of him, who was connected to him. So they made that alteration as well. Male and male, he created him instead of he created them. Not right, he created them as in the original. They also wrote when it came to the mountain, when it came to the destruction of the Tower of Babel, where God confused their language. It says, "Come, let us mix up." God is saying, "Let us mess up their language." Doesn't sound good. Let us, only one God. So therefore, another alteration was made. Hava erida, come, let me descend, and I will confuse their language. Okay, now it comes to Sarah Imenu. We're almost finished. One last one. Sarah laughed, and yes, he was chastised by God. Avram also laughed. 90-year-old, 100-year-old, having children. How come he didn't have anything? And how come Avram, got a free pass, and Sarah was chastised by God? Oh, I guess God is a male chauvinist. He picks on women. He won't accept the answer that Rashi gives, that she was laughing, and her laugh was a different kind of laugh. Yeah, sure. How do you know? So therefore, they alterated the words. But tischak, but the word is but tischak Torah bikirba, which means inside, meaning in her inside. It means bikroveva, that she actually laughed with her relatives. She told her relatives how absurd it would be for her to become a mother. Well, that's why Hashem was angry. He publicized it. Avram didn't publicize it. Now they're not going to complain that God is a male chauvinist. Or some say, she laughed at her insides. She actually said, verbalized, "My innards can I have a child? I'm old." But they made the alteration. Let's stop with this. But Tischak Torah bikroveva. Sarah laughed among her relatives, not in her inside of her, meaning she laughed privately. They also had a problem with when Yaakov chastises his sons and saying, you killed someone. You kill people. Doesn't sound good to Talmud to know that the Torah is calling Yaakov's children murderers. So they changed it. Ki ba'apam haragu shor, not ba'akam harish. With your anger, you killed an ox instead of the word man. Yeah, you killed animals, but you didn't kill a person. But killing a person is murder, and that wouldn't look good in the eyes of Talmud. So they changed that as well. And there are many more, which we'll leave it at this. Time ran out. Moshe Rabbeinu rode on a donkey. It doesn't look good. Moshe rode on a donkey. Couldn't afford a camel. So they changed the word from donkey to an animal that carries people without mentioning what kind of animal it was. They want to lie and say it was a camel or a donkey. But it was hard to believe. Either Moshe looked like a cheapskate, can't afford a camel, or Torah is not telling the truth. He rode on a camel and is trying to say he rode on a donkey. So Torah is not honest, and therefore the whole thing is on. Another alteration made. And there are a few more. Jews were in Mitzrayim for 400 years. They weren't, only 210 years. They changed it around. They said the Jews were in Mitzrayim and other lands prior for 400 years. They changed those words. They translated Torah not the way it's written. And there's two more, which we'll leave it at this. But the other two are a little bit complicated. Have a wonderful week, wonderful Shabbos, and an easy fast. And if we have that.
Rabbi Greenberg, can you just remind me? I'm writing down which